My name is Justin Lara. This is my Scenario 1 Flying Mother assignment for Aviation 430 Multi-Engine Ground at Liberty University. In this scenario, I'm a multi-engine rated private pilot and just bought a new twin-engine plane. I've asked for a checkout in the aircraft. In a week, I am planning to fly some family and I to visit my mother-in-law. I've done some research in the aircraft and have done all the pre-flight actions for the flight. The biggest concern I have here is it's a new aircraft, and I may have done some research and have the necessary knowledge to operate the aircraft, but that doesn't mean I can actually do it and am proficient in operating it. Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge defines single pilot resource management as the art and science of managing all the resources, both on board the aircraft and from outside sources, available to a single pilot prior to and during a flight to ensure the successful outcome of the flight. Single pilot resource management includes concepts such as aeronautical decision making, risk management, task management, automation management, controlled flight into terrain awareness, and situational awareness. I'd like to stress the importance of utilizing all resources. This includes charts, air traffic control, checklists, weather stations, passengers, systems on board the aircraft, and more. A key component of single pilot resource management is to obviously have a thorough understanding of the aircraft. Without proficient knowledge of the aircraft, the pilot is unable to use many of its resources. In this flight, we have just purchased a new aircraft. The added complexity of a twin engine makes this especially important. Although we have a multi-engine rating, we may not have ever flown this specific platform, or it may have different systems. Before we take our family on a flight, we need to be fully certain we can use these resources. A component of single pilot resource management is aeronautical decision making. The Aviation Instructor Handbook defines aeronautical decision making as a systematic approach to the mental process used by pilots to consistently determine the best course of action in response to a given set of circumstances. A major factor in aeronautical decision making is how personal attitudes affect one's decisions. Some hazardous attitudes that I see causing a problem for this flight include impulsivity, invulnerability, and macho. Impulsivity is the attitude that something needs to be done quickly. We only have a week until we're supposed to fly, and we need to get through this check out quickly. Instead, we should slow down, take our time, get multiple lessons in the aircraft if necessary, and ensure we are fully proficient in the aircraft. Invulnerability is the idea that it won't happen to me. We may think that we could accept the added risk associated with an unfamiliar aircraft because we don't truly feel as if we would be the ones involved in an accident. Macho is a belief that we could do it. We may feel that we need to impress our family and take the flight despite not being proficient. As with any flight, we need to consider the PAVE checklist. This should be done prior to the flight, but revisited throughout as things change. As the PHAC explains, P stands for pilot, so competency, condition of health, mental and emotional state, fatigue, and other variables. This is the area that I have the most concerns with for this flight. I don't yet have a thorough understanding of the aircraft or its system. It sounds like I did some studying and might understand it in theory, but I don't have much experience in the aircraft actually flying it and using the systems. I may need more than just this one flight with an instructor to ensure I am proficient before doing cross-country with family on board. A is for aircraft, so performance, equipment, and airworthiness. It sounds like I did all my pre-flight actions and should be good to go there. One major thing we need to consider, since it's a twin engine, is aircraft performance with one engine inoperative. V is for the V in environment. We'll consider weather, air traffic control, nav aids, terrain, takeoff and landing areas, and surrounding obstacles. I'm assuming this flight is VFR since the scenario didn't mention if we have an instrument rating. If it was, there would be even more risk associated with unfamiliarity of the aircraft. We might not know how to use systems to deal with ice or how to fly an approach. Another big factor of knowing the environment is to prevent controlled flight into terrain. We need to know if we have the necessary climb performance to stay clear of terrain, we are capable of flying over terrain, and we don't hit obstacles on an approach or takeoff. Finally, E is for external pressures, or the influence of the purpose of the flight on decisions. For this scenario, I may be letting down my family and mother-in-law if we do not take the flight. I might make a no-go for the cross country with family depending on how proficient I am in the aircraft. I think I would likely need multiple flights with an instructor rather than just the one discussed in the scenario before taking this flight. I would either take an aircraft I am more familiar with or reschedule the trip for a later date when I could get more experience in the plane. When training flights to get checked out in the new aircraft, there are some important considerations for safety. According to the Airplane Flying Handbook, the objectives, maneuvers, learner actions, and completion standards should be briefed and understood by the student and instructor prior to the flight. Additionally, there needs to be a clear understanding of how the simulated emergency will be introduced and what actions the student will be expected to take. A surprise simulated emergency could quickly become an actual emergency if handled incorrectly. These risks can be mitigated by being discussed prior to the emergency scenario. These are the references I used to make my presentation. And again, my name is Justin Lara. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for watching.